47,466 pieces, over 1,000 hours of work, 98% on the console complexity meter, 7 attractions, 6 areas. This is it, my friends. For one final time, welcome back to Camtaso Park. In this park series, we've explored 5 different worlds already. A Mexican village set deep in a canyon, a tropical beach, a cove that's home to a research station, a mythical forest, and in the last episode, a Viking village. Today, we're linking them all together by closing the park's loop with our 6th and final area, Camtaso City, the city where all of our remaining mascots live. Between a handful of shops and facilities with a lot of personality, a beautiful garden and water feature inspired by Celestial Park, as well as the entrance of the park, which is heavily inspired by Epic Universe's Chronos, there is a lot to see in this episode. And remember, this is the series finale, which means that the final version of the park is now up on the workshop and you can download it thanks to this share code if you haven't already. Now let's dream a little and tour Camtaso City. In the last episode, we toured Midgard, our Norse mythology area themed to the Viking character, which I've decided was Thor's daughter for our storyline. It's high time we go through the portal to meet our remaining mascots to complete the roster of the park. We go seamlessly from the outside of a massive Viking hall to the facade of the Camtaso City Museum. I thought it would be clever to step inside a museum to make you experience history as if you were there. In fact, that's what it says in Latin right above the portal. Plus, I really wanted to try a classic European style for a while now, and this is totally inspired by both the Louvre and the British Museum. I know it is blasphemy and treason to combine something French with something British, but then again, I've always been a Frenchman making videos in English, so I'm not afraid about mixing the two together anymore. I've also added the Valkyrie statue that I'd done for the Greek portal into Midgard because it suggests that the Valkyries guard both of the portals to the village. As you may have spotted, I've changed the color of the portal from blue to orange compared to version 6 from the last episode, because I wanted to use the colors used for the backgrounds of the official arts of the characters to color code them, and the Vikings is orange. This orange energy leads us to one of these funky contraptions lodged underneath the pathing. It's called a Dream Quadrant, and it focuses the dream energy channeled through Camtaso City into gateways to various worlds of imagination. This was made using the new invisible paths in Update 5 in order to really get that wow factor when you get to one of the portals, because yes, there's this one that goes to Midgard, but there's also another one on the other side of this beautiful water feature for Pueblo de Saguaro Guitaro. Our park now does a full loop, and it's just so satisfying to finally be able to tour it on foot completely, which is what I advise you to do. This park having been built on a console, I wanted to focus on the immersion within the park rather than the diorama aspect of it. I couldn't do both because of the harsh limitations coded into our version of the game, even though I really wanted to. That's why you'll quickly realize that I abandoned the backstages at the center of the park halfway through the series when you tour the park. All that to say, you'll have a better experience from inside the park than outside if you download it, so use the first-person camera. When you come out of either of the portals into Camtaso City, you'll be greeted by this epic water feature, which you can see is very inspired by the big fountain in Epic Universe's Celestial Park. In fact, this entire area is very much our very own tiny Celestial Park, except the graceful Celestials who inhabit the land there are just quirky mascots here. At first I tried to do a big water show here, but for some reason some of the water jets wouldn't work at all, perhaps because there was a massive amount of them in a single place. The perks of playing on console, am I right? Regardless, I call this the Queen Splash Fountain because what else that's not a ride could I have themed to her? And yes, I did consider the toilet, but it was a bit rude to the game's main mascot. At the end of this water feature, we can also find a very sci-fi build dedicated to everyone's favorite extraterrestrial cow, Cosmic Cow, and her spaceport. This is where the inhabitants of Camtaso City can book their trip to other places in the galaxy and also order delicious ice cream and milkshakes naturally. That's another build that I was able to make thanks to Update 5. In fact, I believe this is my first complete sci-fi build, and I think it turned out great. We even have a mover ship ready to take off on the roof that was made using forced perspective. I'm still super happy with what scaling allows us to do in the game, by far the best feature they've implemented in the sequel. When you arrive here, you're greeted by this gravity-defying spaceship water feature, then the inside is pretty simple and is a miniaturized version of a spaceport which doubles as an ice cream parlor. And the seats have amazing views of the massive Epic Universe-inspired entrance tower at the other end of the area. I call it the Dreamweaver, but more about that at the end of the episode. Speaking of dreams, you know that this is the theme of the area, and with dreams must also come nightmares, right? Wrong! Thanks to the nightmare disposal facility, there is no nightmare in Camtaso City. And yes, I've taken my custom toilets way too far. How did you know? This final YanBK toilet of the series is themed to a shrink's office where you can get rid of your nightmares? Sure, that's a creative way to call a turd. I've chosen the owl as a symbol for this place because it fittingly is a nocturnal animal representing the guardian of sleep in my headcanon. And I used my toilet kit one last time for hand dryers, sinks, toilet paper rolls, and of course the toilets themselves. I think I might stop making custom toilets like this in the next series until I've saved enough YouTube revenue for a PC, because the toilets in Camtaso Park make up a total of 5% of the complexity meter, which is a lot that I could have used to place a flat ride in this area, for instance. Of course, I have no regrets, since in my opinion it elevates the theming and immersion of every single area even further. Instead of having boring white tile toilets, it's completely worth it. On the other side of the Queen Splash fountains, we have a building with a similar architecture dedicated to King Coaster, and this is, or was supposed to be, the park's megastore called King Coaster's Treasure. If you get closer to it, you'll realize that it's a bit lifeless, with curtains blocking the view of the inside, and that's because I've decided that it would be closed for refurbishment in the park's canon, but for us it's actually just closed because of the complexity meter. We'll be able to do actual gift shops in the future thanks to update 6 that comes out sometime in June anyway, and we'll finally be able to have on-ride photos. How cool is that? That was a rhetorical question, by the way. It's super cool, and I'll spam those in the next park, I'm sure, so subscribe to see that. Moving on from King Coaster's Treasure, we get to the heart of what I call the Inspiration Gardens, where the water of the Queen Splash fountain goes down into a deeper pool that gives us a wonderful view of the spaceport from the Dreamweaver. This is where you'll find the Chief Beef Police Station, a mix between a fast food shop a la Burger King and a police station. Once you step inside, you're greeted by screens to order, but unfortunately I've discovered a bug because of those. When you have the same custom media on several screens in the same place, they just don't mute even if they're supposed to, so unfortunately it clashes with the epic music that plays within the shop. We still have a few funny details in here, like a table looking into an interrogation room. Ideally I would have been able to use custom media here, but you know, console guy. We also have this drawer for anything top secret, middle secret, and bottom secret, this blackboard with clues, and of course the evidence disposal when you've made a crime scene of your meal. We even have a custom helicopter on top of the station to add movement to the build. Pretty cool, huh? And on the other side of the garden we have the final shop of the series, the Gulpee Factory. This is an interesting one because it went through many iterations before becoming this. For a time it was a tropical greenhouse, then it was more akin to a rainforest cafe style place, but in the end I settled on this steampunk factory where Gulpee started creating his beverages in 2016. Now that Gulpee is a world famous brand, Gulpee has turned his original factory into a bar where you can taste his latest concoctions like the T-Rex soda, the Raptor Energy, or the Terror Iced Tea. Yes, 2 of those are RMC references. Give us the Raptor Frontier, we'll be waiting. And look, there's even Gulpee up here in the control room greeting you. I've made this effect thanks to a screen, and that makes me think that PC players simply aren't using the full potential of custom media. I intend to shake things up a bit once I get my hands on a PC, don't worry. This bar is such a beautiful place with private booths where you can see the sun shining through the glass with a little view of the Dreamweaver outside. In fact, let's head there, so don't forget to recycle to save the dinosaurs on the way out. There we are, my friends, the final build of the series, the Dreamweaver. Obviously, this is completely inspired by the Chronos Gate at Epic Universe, even though I've made it my own, otherwise where's the creative fun? The first major change is that the central opening is blocked by the logo of the park with the words "Where Wonders Never Cease" greeting you on your way in. Speaking of which, you'll make your way in through these archways where you'll find my custom turnstiles, which are a personal blueprint that I intend to use in all of my parks going forward, and we even have accessible entrances on either sides. But the in-game entrance facility is actually hidden in plain sight inside those security checkpoints where I use security posts to have guards stand behind the metal detectors that I introduced in the last episode. But back to the Dreamweaver, I knew I had to represent the 6 different lands with their emblems. Camtaso City as the Planet Coaster 2 logo, Pueblo de Saguaro Guitaro as Cactus Express, Near Midgard as Mjolnir, Bodies Bay as the surfboard, the Nymph Woods as the owl on Crescendo's lyre, and Station Reef as a submarine. And finally, the detail that makes the entire park make sense, the Dream Projector. The Dreamweaver channels the dream energy gathered from the dreams of the entire world to manifest them into a marvelous realm called Camtaso Park. The Dream Projector makes it all come to life. And it was all made possible thanks to the Dream Keepers, my 114 channel supporters and the 5,915 legends who subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for your incredible support, patience and generosity. I started this project during the early access period. I think it may have been on November 2nd, 2024, and coincidentally I finished this park on June 2nd, 2025, exactly 7 months later. So many things have changed in 7 months, not only in the game mind you, but also the reception to it and my approach to content creation around it. It's no secret that the game launched in a state that triggered the negativity of a vocal majority of the community in a way we hadn't really seen before. As someone who had chosen to turn to content creation full-time since July 2024, it was so scary to see the interest in the game fading away for the first few months, especially because I have been enjoying it very much since the first day I got to play, despite its very obvious flaws in the early days. I've taken a step back from weekly uploads since then, because the emotional stress of not only dealing with the frequency of that, but also with the community backlash which was somehow landing in my comment section and in my Discord server, it was all becoming way too much to bear. That is why I went into isolation mode to shut myself off from the negativity for a time, and that paid off because today I'm able to share with you my first of many parks on Planet Coaster 2. Now it seems the dust has settled and people are starting to be enthusiastic about the game again, thanks to the monthly updates that Frontier have been pumping out, which have genuinely transformed the game. If I may do a time capsule to finish this video and this series without the usual like, comment, subscribe and become a channel supporter spiel, the following would be it. I hope that Camtaso Park will be remembered as a park that managed to capture the early days of the game. The flawed beginnings reflected in the first 2 areas I've built, the ambition of believing in what the game could be with Station Reef, the necessary patience to wait for the greatness that would eventually bring back interest in the game little by little, represented by the Nymphwoods and Nurmidgard, and finally what we are currently living, its renaissance thanks to hard work that gives us a world of possibility. It's even poetic that most of Camtaso City has been made thanks to update 5 in that sense, since it's probably this very update that's turned the game around. All that to say, I hope we'll look back on Camtaso Park in a couple of years from now and we'll say, wow, look how far we've gone.